What's going on to all my Marvel MCU Ultron fans out there, and welcome back to my channel Movie Files. We are back again breaking down the latest episode of Disney Plus What If Episode 8, which was titled What If Ultron Won, an episode in which I think we got the superior Ultron and what we got in the live action and so much more. We're breaking it all down here in this spoiler review, but before we dive into it all, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert for when I drop new content. If you enjoyed this spoiler review, and make sure to like and share the video. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And in those comments, again, let me know which version of Ultron did you prefer. What we got in the Avengers film or this version, your thoughts on the Watcher versus Ultron and Nat and Clint and just all the epicness that we got in this episode. And of course, what you all hope to see in next week's finale. Let's talk about it in the comment section. So before I dive into it, as you all know, every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, myself, Amanda, and Chris, we go live dissecting, analyzing, breaking down, but more importantly, having a fun time with you all, talking about the latest episode of What If and talking about some of the latest MCU news. So I hope you all can join us tonight. It'll be an hour ahead of the normal schedule. We'll be going live at 5 p.m. Central Time tonight because I have a screening for Venom 2, but hope you all can join us. I'll leave all that information in the link in the bio. So let's get into this episode, ladies and gentlemen, which I still think Doctor Strange might be my favorite, but as far as like the implications to this show and also potentially how the multiverse can break, this episode was pretty huge, and I can't stress enough. Ultron Vision combination was so epic, so badass. It just makes me just even more sad thinking about the movie Age of Ultron and how wasted that villain was. And we'll talk about that later tonight, and even so in this review. But man, what a badass. And also Hawkeye, can we get some of those arrows in the live action, especially in this TV show? I mean, this was great. Nat was incredible. I'm going to talk about her a lot in this review because she's been the backbone of the Avengers in the MCU as well as in this series so far, and I just really enjoyed it. And again, we'll talk about the Super Saiyan Watcher moment versus Ultron. There's so much to break down, but I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, right now I think from a story point, narrative, character driven episode, Doctor Strange is still my favorite, but this is up there, man. But we're going to break it all down and get into it here. Let's start off by talking about the Watcher. As he says, this particular story breaks his heart, and the question is, why? Why does this break his heart? And we find out more than his heart being broken in this episode. Almost his head, his body. There was a lot of stuff being broken in this episode from the Watcher. But let's start off talking about Nat and Hawkeye. We see, again, are just automatically badasses within the first few frames. Number one, Hawkeye has a robotic arm, which is funny because he's fighting robots, and also goes back to the line in Age of Ultron when he's like, I just have a bow and arrow and I'm a regular guy. But neither here nor there. We see them in the midst of this plan going against Ultron's bots, and again, talk about badass. As Nat takes him out with her bike, we see Clint has this invisible cloak, which I don't know what that was. I guess it's a shield prototype maybe, and then just seeing him taking out the bots hand-by-hand combat, and we see the funny moment as we see Nat saves him and lends him a helping hand. Again, it was just so badass to see those characters in that moment, and it just, oh my goodness, it just makes me so like, I don't want to say upset, but it just makes me disappointed just thinking about Ultron, but thinking about these characters too, which we'll talk about in a second. But we see that the events from Age of Ultron play out in this universe, but obviously much differently, because we see Ultron ultimately does make his vision come to life, and we see how all those events play out. And I'm not going to lie, slightly disappointed that they weren't able to get James Spader's voice back as Ultron, because that just would have fit so much perfectly, and maybe would have made me like Ultron a little bit more, because it would have just been perfect to have his voice back. But the voice was a little bit off to me. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to nitpick, but I really wish that James Spader's voice, they tried to like emulate it, but it just didn't click like some of the other actors that didn't come back, Tony Stark, even Nat. Those actors really kind of brought some of the sensibilities from those, voices from those actors, but this one, it didn't really work for me. But neither here nor there. We see that Ultron did indeed create his vision, and he lays waste to the Avengers, lays waste to, activating the nukes and taking over the planet essentially. And this moment right here, you talk about disrespectful. We see that after he lays waste to the planet, leaving Nat and obviously Clint alive, Thanos, my man Thanos, doing his Infinity War intro when he's sniffing the earth like, oh, this place stinks, but I'm going to take it over. Within seconds, we see Ultron say, oh, fascinating, and split him in half with the Mind Stone, which I'm like, dude, how epic would have been to see. I know it's only a 30-minute show, but seeing the ultimate Ultron Vision bot versus Thanos would have been such a like cool little 5 minute. They could have like showed them fighting and battling out, and they're on the final breath, and he could have took them out that way. But I would have loved, I would have loved to have seen that. Can we get a what if of a what if show? I would have loved that. But nonetheless, we see him take and punk Thanos super easily. And again, I would have loved to have seen them go toe to toe. But neither here nor there. Takes the Infinity Stones and goes on his quest to fix the galaxy, because now he has all this information in his head. We see him take out Asgard, he takes out Sakaar, he takes out Ego's planet, he goes to Xandar, and here comes Captain Sava, you know what. Captain Marvel comes in, has her little hand-to-hand combat, really cool fight. She takes him down all the way to the core of Xandar, and you think that she's gonna have a little moment, she's gonna take him out, but no, Ultron at this point is too powerful, too strong, and he's not able only to take her out, but he takes out the entire planet. Again, his quest, his vision has been completed, which brings us back to, and again, we see him actually having a really big moment. At this point, his consciousness, he's given the knowledge of the Infinity Stone, so he knows it all. He's able to get a higher level of consciousness that he actually hears the Watcher, and this is where things start to take place as he is wanting to look for the Watcher to destroy the multiverse, which is just like, oh boy, we're getting some big stuff here. But back to Nat and Clint as they're searching for answers to take down Ultron. They make their way to the KGB archives. Really cool Easter eggs in this moment. We see Red Guardian's shield, and I know you all saw that. We didn't see the first name, Charles, because it was in Russian, but it said Xavier. I'm pretty sure that was Charles Xavier that they were alluding to in that moment. But the answer's right there. And we see the Watcher like, come on, Clint, it's right there. I can intervene, but I don't have to. These are humans. They're going to be able to figure it out. He puts the box back. He's defeated at this point, but it is Nat. I remind you all how important Natasha Romanoff to this story, to all of what if that she's been included in, but more importantly in the live action. She is so pivotal to being the hero. If you think about just the first Avengers, if it wasn't for her getting low-key staff and open up the portal, who knows what things would have played out. Think of obviously Endgame. She sacrificed her life for the Soul Stone. So Natasha Romanoff, she's a beast. She's a hero, and it just makes me even more sad that we don't get any more Scarlett Johansson in the MCU. We're gonna get obviously her sister Yelena, but man, it makes me so sad to not see more of that character. But cut to them again. They figure it all out. They agree to go to Zola, which we see them again being complete badasses. They go to where they went to in Civil War. They activate Zola, and he's like, "Why should I help you?" And we see Clint saying, "Hey, I'll give you some water to motivate you," and he agrees to help them out. And just seeing this whole sequence of scenes here with the Ultron bots coming into taking down Nat and Clint and them fighting the Ultron bots, man, what a missed opportunity to not only maybe have a series exploring Natasha and Hawkeye, but more importantly, they should have just had a movie. Like, as soon as we got like Civil War, or like in between Civil War and Winter Soldier, they should have had a Natasha Romanoff, Clint Barton mission spy type of espionage movie. It would have been a hit. It would have been so fantastic because they were so badass in this episode. They've been badass in this entire series, especially Nat. But all the little arrows that Clint was able to use, like, where are those arrows in the MCU? Why haven't we, we've seen him do cool things, but like not to this level. When he had that force field barrier holding down Ultron, I'm like, dude, why are these characters? And that was my fear of what if. It's like, what if these characters are better animated than we got in the MCU? And I could definitely say that's the case with Ultron, with Clint. Natasha's been dope in the MCU, but there are some moments that she's been really badass in this show. But neither here nor there. We see that the connection to the Hive isn't working as they attempt to escape. And again, we see Hawkeye just being a badass. But more importantly, we get this incredible callback to Endgame. We know that Nat was obviously the one that sacrificed her life, but obviously this time it's Clint who's given up all hope. And he in that shot, which was like an art piece, when he's going down and shooting the arrow, was perfection right there. But back to the Watcher versus Ultron. Oh my goodness, this was epic, ladies and gentlemen. We see the Watcher has some moves on his own, but he gets knocked into the multiverse, and we see them just going through different multiverses, different planets, different universes, and I'm like, Marvel, take my money. I want to see this in live action. As we see the Watcher go Super Saiyan, he busts out his gear, he has his old armor, and them just going back and forth fighting. I'm like, dude, this is the most epic scene that we've gotten in What If so far, and this is my favorite moment of What If. and dare I say, maybe one of my most favorite, not the most like emotional moments, but just like visually, and just like I would wish we can see this in live action, because that was just so dope. I think it's one of the coolest moments in Phase 4 so far, if I'm being honest. But we see him say to Ultron, "You can't even compute my will of power." What a dope ass line. Again, Watcher, Jeffrey Wright, can we make him get into the live action? I'm looking at you, Doctor Strange, in the Multiverse of Madness. But we see Ultron ultimately, again, this whole sequence was just so beautiful. He like grows to giant size, become like this Galactus-like character, eats up one of the planets, pushes him to a multiverse where Steve Rogers is the president, which is actually a cool little comic book run. But again, just seeing all that stuff play out as Ultron tries to crush the head of the Watcher and escapes, leaving Ultron in the center of the multiverse, being in control of the multiverse, because we see at this point the Watcher has escaped, and we see it end with him feeling defeated, feeling alone, and he has to call for help. And it's no other than a surprise little cameo here, Supreme Strange, and he wants to hear the Watcher say, "I need your help," which he does, because that's a great callback to that episode, because you guys remember Supreme Strange, he asked for help for the Watcher, but he did not intervene. So now seeing the tables turn, seeing it play out this way was such a fantastic way to end the episode. What a great episode. Again, I would imagine episode 9, we're going to get obviously Killmonger, Captain Carter, Star-Lord. We're going to get, all the different characters, variations, some of the characters from the zombie episode making their way into episode 9. And again, I thought Gamora was going to play an episode, but I believe she's going to be in next week's episode. So, and Party Thor, can't forget about him. It's going to be so dope, and I can't wait to see the finale of next week's episode. But let me know your thoughts, pros, cons. Again, James Spader would have been so perfect to come into the episode. And again, Hawkeye, Natasha Romanoff movie, man, that would have been great based off this episode. But again, Hawkeye series, I better see some of those arrows in action. But nonetheless, let me know your pros, your cons, your thoughts and theories of what you hope to see in next week's finale. Again, friendly reminder, tonight, 5 p.m. Central Time, myself, Amanda, and Chris, we will be going live talking more in depth about this episode, talking about why this Ultron will kick the ass of the Ultron in the MCU, and having a good time. So hope you all can join. Before you leave, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell, that way you don't miss any of my other content. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe, check out my other contents, keep an eye out for No Time to Die review, Venom 2 review, and so much more. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and we'll see you on the next one.